Hi everyone, and welcome to episode number 77 of the Karen Knits podcast. My name is Karen, and I'm coming to you from South Central Pennsylvania, where I live, where I work, where I knit, and where I get into all kinds of other crafting shenanigans. I'm so happy to have you here with me today. If you're a new viewer, thank you so much for stopping by to check it out. If you're a returning viewer, thank you so much for coming back for another week to see what I've been up to. Today is Saturday, August the 28th, 2021, and we have a nice, hot, late summer day here. It's quite hot. It's a little too hot for my liking, but it is nice out. We were out for a while this morning. I'll talk more about that a little bit later, but we have been out for a goodly bit this morning and yesterday, and enjoying the late summer weather we're having here. So I don't have a whole ton of knitting progress to show you this week. You're probably getting a little bit used to that, and I do have updates on my hands and what's going on with my trigger finger and my trigger thumb. So I'll update you more about that in a bit, but suffice it to say, the hand problems have put a bit of a damper on my knitting time, unfortunately. But this past week I have done a fair bit of work on a pair of socks. These are the beaded eyelet cuff socks, and it's a pattern by Debbie Haymark. And these are the lap 4 socks for the Super Sock World Knitting Contest. I'm way behind. Round 6 is nearly complete, and I'm still plugging along on round 4. And I think I skipped round 3. I'm way behind, but I'm still enjoying it. I'm loving the patterns. I hope to knit some of the other patterns in the future, but for now I'm just happily knitting along with my lap 4 socks, where everyone else is long done, probably almost getting closer to a month ago now. I think I cast these on in early August. Oh well. But they are housed in my Fringe Supply field bag, and since I saw you last, I have basically a hoe and almost half. So I have one of the socks is done. Last week I was almost ready to start the toe decreasing. So I finished up the last of the foot on this sock since I last saw you a week ago. It's got a bit of pooling here, but I don't much care. This is yarn I dyed myself. It's kind of a tonal variegated pink fingering weight yarn. I'm using 2.25 or 2.25 millimeter or US size 1 needles on these. So the one sock is done, and I got going on the second sock, and I'm almost done the leg. I have about 1 repeat left to go, and I'm ready to start doing the heel flap. So once I get to the heel flap, it'll seems to move faster. Especially once the heel flap and the gusset decreasing is done, then it really, for me, it seems like they buzz along pretty quickly after that. But that's my progress on sock number 2. I'm hoping to have these done within the next week. I'm really hoping to have them done in the next week. We shall see. There are a few little beads in here. You can just barely, there's one. You can just barely see them. I think there's 12 beads on each, 12 beads on each sock. There's 2 here, and then there'll be 2 more just in a little bit on each side. So 12 beads on each sock. So it's just a little bit, in hindsight, I probably should have used a darker bead, because these really do, they blend in way too much, but too late now. So those are my beaded eyelet cuff socks. And again, that's a pattern by Debbie Haymark. And 5 minutes in, that's the extent of my knitting content for the week. Not an awful lot of knitting. Finished a toe and I'm about at least three quarters of the way down the leg on the second sock. So it hasn't been a lot of knitting time, but this past week has also been very busy. We are back to school now. University opened up again on Monday for classes. So I'm back in the classroom, although I teach 3 classes this semester. 2 of them are 100% online, asynchronous, so the students just come in at their own pace and finish the material for each week. So they're basically working at their own pace. I'm just there to guide them along and answer any questions, provide feedback on their work, and just interact with them throughout. So the 3rd class I teach is a lower level class and second year for second year students, and that one's face to face. So it's a small class and it's going well. We meet twice a week. For me, it's Monday and Wednesday afternoons for 75 minutes each of those 2 days. And one of the things that we are required to do this semester is on campus, indoors at all times, you must be wearing a mask. So if I'm in my office by myself, I can take my mask off. But if I am in the classroom or anywhere else, inside buildings, the mask must be on. So I will admit I don't really enjoy trying to teach with a mask on. I said this to my students at the end of the first class on Monday. Like, that's an awful lot of hot air happening in there. So that poor mask is like by the end of the class. I'm thankful that the class is later in the afternoon, so that when I finish class, I'm heading home in less than a half an hour. So I'm back in my office and the mask is off, because that poor thing's getting a little bit damp, just from all that hot air happening. So I am hoping that the numbers stabilize and we're able to get rid of the masks sometime sooner rather than later, because I'm honestly not enjoying having to wear a mask while I'm teaching. I completely understand why we're doing it, but it's not comfortable. And I feel that I have to speak louder to make sure my voice carries, which is hard on your throat. And what I don't like the most is that you're missing a lot of the reaction on the student's face and reactions on my face when I'm presenting the material. So I teach I basically teach financial accounting course. And it's heavy math, and there's often times where students are, how best to put it, a little perplexed. And if they're wearing a mask, I see less of their face to see that they're not getting what I'm talking about. So it is an adjustment. I wish I could see their whole face to see if what I'm talking about, what I'm showing them, if it's getting in, if it's making sense or not. So that's probably that, and that aspect and the hot air thing are probably the 2 things that are the most difficult to deal with wearing the mask all the time in class. But it is what it is, so we'll just make do and keep on trucking. So the first week of classes, it went well. I have a good bunch of, I call them kids. They're late teens. They're probably like 19, 20, 21-year-olds. They're a good bunch of kids that I have, or so it seems so far. So I'm enjoying the class. I'm enjoying the students. I am really happy to be back in the classroom and back face to face with the classes that I normally have face to face or have had in the past. So I'm really happy about that. The other thing, so that's tied up part of my time. So I'm not at home at all during the day, Monday and Wednesday. So we pack up, we're out of the house after breakfast, and we're not home until, basically what we do, my husband only works about a mile past the campus where I work. So we both head out at the same time, and he drops me off at my work, and then he continues on his way to his work, and we both work all day, and then we come back home again. So Monday and Wednesdays I'm not home much at all during the day, so that eats into some of my knitting time. And now that classes are back in session, Tuesdays and Thursdays are also a little busier because I'm keeping up with making sure that my course materials are set and ready and prepped, doing grading, all that other miscellaneous administrative kind of stuff. So I don't, now that the school year is back in session, I don't have as much spare time to relax with my knitting at home, but it is what it is. Fridays, the hubby and I usually try to take the day off. He's the pastor, so Sundays he's working on Sundays, so we don't really have the entire weekend off. So we've gotten to the habit where I don't have classes on Fridays, and we've started setting Fridays aside as our date day kind of thing. We like to try to do something. It doesn't have to be anything really fun or exciting. Sometimes it is really fun stuff we're doing, but typically we try to do something special or something different on Fridays, since we're both tied up pretty much the rest of the week. So yesterday, this past Friday, we slept in, relaxed in the morning, and then we went down to the Antietam Battleground National Park. It's about a 45 or so minute drive from where we are, kind of south-ish from where we are, about 45-minute drive. So we went down there, and it's one of the battle sites for the Civil War in the US, and it was fascinating. We got there, it was hot and humid. We got there, they showed about a 15-20 minute film. While we were in there watching the film, the thunderstorm came over, it rained and poured while we were inside. And then by the time we were done with the film, the rain had passed, and it was hot and muggy when we went back outside. But they have it set up so that you can drive around and see a lot of the main areas for the different battles that happened at Antietam. And they also have a thing where there's a QR code that you can hit, and it will take you to a link that will show you a little 3 to 5 minute video of a description of the importance of each of I think there was 11 points that you could drive around and stop at. It took way much longer. English is my only language, oh boy. It took a lot longer than we expected it to take, and we were running shy on time. So we got to point 6 and decided, and that took us a good hour and a half to drive to the spot and then sit and look at it. And a few of the spots we got out and wandered around and looked at some of the plaques and different things. But we didn't get through the entire thing before we had other things that we wanted to get done for the evening. And so we're going to go back another time, and we're going to continue at 7 and go up to 11. And the final one is the Civil War, the big cemetery in the town right beside where the battleground was. So we'll want to spend some time looking around the cemeteries. So we just didn't have time to do everything proper justice yesterday, so we will be going back. So after we were finished there, we drove back towards home, stopped at another town, went out for supper. It was to a steak place, so we had steak, baked potatoes, and it was a nice supper. We really enjoyed it. But that was almost a half-hour drive from the battleground. And then we had got tickets to go and see live theater in the evening, and we had a blast. We saw a showing of, or the play, The Glass Menagerie by Tennessee Williams, and the troupe they were fantastic. It was a small little venue, and there wasn't a big crowd. It was just such an intimate setting, and it was wonderful. We've only gone out to live theater twice in recent months, and it's been quite a while since we've gone to live theater, and other than these two outings in the past few months, and it was wonderful, and we've missed that. We used to go to live theater quite a bit. My husband's a bit of a theater guy. That was one of his majors when he was in university. So he's a real theater buff, and I really enjoy it. So it was really nice. So we had a really nice day yesterday. It was a lot of fun. And on Tuesday, I went and saw the orthopedic surgeon. So I had a consult appointment with him. First, they did x-rays of both my hands in 3 different, like flat, bit of an angle, and then in a position like that, laying down, so they could see different things that were happening. One thing they did note with the x-rays, there was nothing extraordinary on the x-rays. Trigger finger's not going to show up on the x-rays, which I expected. But the one thing they did say was on my left hand, there's a little bit of degeneration beginning. So it's the very, very beginnings of arthritis will be setting in my hands down the line, or in my left hand, which I found kind of surprising because I'm a righty. And so we shall see. It might be something that progresses really, really slowly. But when I got in and talked to the surgeon. He did an exam, all that good stuff. We did a lot of talking, and we decided that the best option was surgery, which is what I expected and what I wanted. Conservative routes have not worked when I've had to have surgery, or when I had problems with my left thumb and my left pinky. Surgery fixed it. So we're lining up for surgery for my left index finger and my right thumb. So I am scheduled in to have the surgery on this one on the 15th of September. So in a couple weeks, just over 2 weeks from now. So that'll get done, that'll get fixed, and then we'll go through the healing process, and then once this one's healed up, we'll move on and we'll get surgery on the thumb. That might be later this fall, might be in November, might not be until January. We shall see. It all depends on how the healing goes with this one. So I want to make sure I have most of my mobility and all the restrictions on use on my left hand, all those are cleared before we get this one done. There are quite a few different restrictions in terms of what you can do, things you can lift, so on and so on. So we'll get that fixed up first, and then we'll get the thumb fixed up. So I want to catch up on my knitting while I'm still have the use of my hands. He said that with the index finger I will be sedated, and they'll make an incision along here, and open up the sheath that the tendon runs through. It'll be heavily bandaged afterwards, and I have to keep the bandaging on for up to 5 days. I'll go in 2 weeks, or a little over 2 weeks, almost 2.5 weeks after the surgery, and get the stitches out. He said usually there's 2, maybe 3 stitches on there. So for at least 2 weeks I won't be able to, or won't be doing much of anything knitting. I will take my time before I ease back into it. But I will be back to knitting, guaranteed. I will be back to knitting over time. So between now and the 15th, I want to try to get some of my whips under control. I don't have that many whips. But I do want to get his mate done. And I would also like to get, I thought it was beside me, I don't know where it is, the blue and white colorwork sock that I was working on. I forgot the name of it now. It was one of the Sock Madness designs that I didn't quite get finished. So I'd like to get some work done. I'd like to finish that first sock, or get some more work done on my Demyakalopa. So those are the 3 key works in progress I have now, aside from my little miniature Advent mittens. So we shall see how that all goes. We went to our farmer's market this morning. Got another little bouquet of flowers. I missed not getting these the last few weeks. It's cute. She didn't have as much to pick from this week, but it's still cute. And I also got a spearmint plant. So he's going to, I just have him here so that I could show him to you now. And then once I'm done here, I'm going to take him into the kitchen and get him into some nice light. And I like with those there I can just pluck a leaf or 2 off and put it into a cup of tea or into a glass of water. I like the little bit of spearmint flavor, especially in some tea. I just find it's really nice in some teas. So I'm happy to have him. And it's like a nice good sized plant. So I had one several years ago and I used it a lot. It was just a plant like this, just a potted plant that I kept indoors. So other than that, I don't think there's an awful lot else new. I thought this would be a short video considering I didn't have any amount of knitting to show you other than my one hoe and a bit. But I still managed to talk for a while. Come on, I get paid to talk for a living, so this should never surprise me. But anyway, I'm going to get going. I hope by next week I'm able to show you my socks will be finished. The beaded eyelet cuff socks. I'm hoping they're done. And I'm hoping that I'll be able to get something else done in the next 2.5 weeks before I go for surgery. So after surgery, I'll probably take a little bit of time off, although I am hoping I can use this time to sort through my yarn stash and organize my yarn stash, and maybe even start earmarking some things that I want to make with all the yarn I have. And that I can probably do fairly easily with one hand. I'll just get the hubby to drag all the tubs out into the living room, and then I can just spread them out one by one and do a lot of that with one hand. So we shall see. So I might show you some videos of that. Someone had asked me a while back if I could talk about all the crafting books that I have behind me here. I can do that for some videos post-surgery, since I won't have any knitting to show you for probably at least 2 weeks after surgery or longer. It all depends. So that's something I can spend some time and give you a tour of all the books in there. That would take a couple videos because I have a lot. There's another full shelf above that, and there's some behind me here, and then there's some on another shelf below that. So I have lots of crafting books. Way more than one person probably should have, but what do you do? So anyways, I better get going. I need to go and get the editing done on here, and then I have to go and meet the hubby. We have some errands to run. We have a box of clothes and things to drop off at our local Goodwill store. And he has some things he has to pick up. We want to go out to Moe's for, I think we're going to Moe's for supper. Have some burritos for supper. So on that note, I shall let you go, and I will see you again in a week. Bye everyone.